Welcome to another Saturday and taking it to the nub. I'm your host tonight, Boston Jimmie. But tonight, my guest is someone I've most recently met. He owns a small shop over on the west coast of Florida in Tarpon Springs. We got time together last week to just hang out. I did a little review of his lounge. He's a fourth generation Cuban cigar maker. I want to introduce to the show tonight, very good friend of mine, Arnold Serafin from Serafin De Cuba Cigars. Let me bring in Arnold. Ronaldo, how are you today?
Mr. Boston Jimmie, how are you?
Seems like it was only yesterday we were sitting outside your little shop smoking cigars and drinking Cuban coffee.
Yeah, what's it been, a week already since you came?
Yeah, been a week. Yes.
Man, and a crazy week it's been, huh?
Yes, it has. For me, it's been a wild week. I had another close friend of mine pass away.
Sorry to hear.
But at least it wasn't like COVID because he died.
Thank God.
Other people, aren't always dying of, but it was hard still, no matter what.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you lose a loved one, a friend, I mean, it's unfortunate,
So it's been kind of one of those weeks for me. But
sorry to hear that.
And I have you tonight on my show for an hour. What are you smoking tonight?
Well, you know what? Just to pay tribute to your awesome review, I'm going to smoke the Flor de Tampa Toro, the one that you reviewed recently.
There you go. That's a 90 rated cigar on my site.
I love it.
And others I picked up when I was there from you. We'll talk more about these other cigars as we go through the show. You can talk to people about what I'm looking at.
Excellent.
Things you pointed out to me and I picked up was this right here. Old school wrapped in newspaper. So
you like
I'm going to open
that?
up this little gizmo. This is like a trick or treat thing, right?
People love that, man. It's they come in here and they see the newspaper and they're just like marveled by it. They're like, what's this all about? And I said, well, we just got the cigars and we kind of decided to age them a little bit. And an old friend of mine years ago would age them in newspaper. And believe it or not, it does a great job. I mean, it just, they work, it works out. So
no band on this.
No band on them. Normally when I have time, I put the little Tarpon Sponger label on them. But just lately I've been so busy, I haven't been putting the label on them.
So this is the Tarpon Sponger?
Yeah, I call that one the Tarpon Sponger Newspaper Edition.
Newspaper edition, and it's got a unfinished kind of foot, loose, right?
Right, and just rolled like that. We don't cut that the end off or anything.
Nice.
It's a Connecticut wrapper, similar to my father's. So like the one I did for my dad. It's a Churchill, so it's a little bit shorter, and I find that blend to be a little bit more, I guess, robust than my dad's cigar.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll let you be the judge of that.
All right. Well, we're not going to judge this one tonight. We're going to smoke it and enjoy it.
You're going to enjoy it.
Because sometimes I just need to smoke cigars and not think I want to smoke it.
And not analyze it. Right. I know.
It'll talk to me as opposed to me talking about it.
Absolutely.
So, Arnold, for everybody that's watching or will be watching, you have some rich history in the cigar business. You were born here in America. But
I'm a Jersey guy.
From Jersey, right?
I'm a Jersey guy. Yeah, absolutely.
4 generations going back to the 1800s in Cuba. So
yes, sir.
Let's just break the ice here and go through a little bit of the history of the family, Seraphim family from, I guess, actually from Spain originally.
Yeah.
And from there into the States. So
sure.
I'll spotlight you a little bit.
Sounds good to me. Well, yeah, my great-grandfather, he comes from a little island in the Canary Islands called La Gomera, which if you're in Tenerife, which everybody knows Tenerife, it's basically dead on, like right across from Tenerife. And that island, for the most part, a lot of the Canary Islanders, they grew tobacco, mostly in another island called La Palma. So my understanding is my great-grandfather, he would go over to the island of La Palma, and that's kind of how he learned how to cultivate tobacco and grow tobacco. And then 1898, Spanish-American War, that brought him over to Cuba. And then he settled in Pinar del Rio originally. So he worked in tobacco there for a little bit. And then, he was involved in the Spanish-American War as a soldier for the Spanish Army, believe it or not. Then he decided to stay in Cuba, and somehow he relocated from Western Cuba, Pinar del Rio, to the center of the island. I always like to say, if you throw a dart right at the island of Cuba, where Santa Clara is, that's where my family's from. So, he decided to go to that area. And then ultimately, he worked in tobacco. He grew shade tobacco at the time. Because I remember, my grandfather telling me stories. And my grandfather, Ramon Sr., because my dad's name was Ramon as well, he grew up in the tobacco fields of, at the time, it was called Las Villas, Central Cuba. That whole area there, Cabaiguan, Baez, you might have heard the names because Don Pepin is from that same area. And I remember maybe about 15 or 16 years ago, I was at a trade show with my good friends from Miami, Flor de Gonzalez, which, Yadi is a good friend of yours, and I love her to death. I mean, her and her dad have always been like family to me. And anyway, we were at a trade show, and Pepin says to me, he says, Serafin, he says, who was Ramon Serafin? And I said, well, that was my grandfather. He says, well, I remember your granddad when he was a tobacco farmer and cigar maker in Las Villas. He always wore a guayabera, and he was on his hat or wearing his hat. And, that really made me feel really good to hear that, So anyway, he did that in Central Cuba. And then my father obviously grew up with my dad, with my grandfather. And that's how they learned the business, And by the 1950s, they had a little cigar factory. It was mostly family. It was my grandfather, my uncle, my great uncles, cousins and stuff. They all worked in the factory together. So very small scale. They did a lot of stuff mostly locally in that area. You still there? I think you froze for a second.
I'm here. So then you came into the state. It was your father who came into the States.
Yep.
Settled in New Jersey, right?
Right. Actually, the way that worked was because of my grandfather's Spanish, citizenship. Dad, height of the Cuban Revolution, he wanted to leave the country, and it was very hostile at that time. So he wasn't able to just automatically come to the States because everything was closed. But he went to the Spanish embassy in Havana, and because of our connection to Spain, they granted him Spanish citizenship, and he was able to travel to Madrid with my mother and my sister at the time. And then they were in Spain for about 3 years, and then ultimately they came to New Jersey.
Oh, okay. So that's a connection. And then
that's a long story too, because I mean, it's funny. He was at the time, believe it or not, even though he had the background in tobacco, he was working in accounting because, a lot of the families back then, and I'm sure you've heard this before, they always wanted the families to get an education, like their kids and the next generation to be more educated. And my grandfather, he was like, okay, you can work in tobacco, but I want you to go to college and get a trade. So he became an accountant. And back then, of course, all the jobs were through the state, like through the government. So when he told his boss that he was leaving the country, that didn't sit over too good. And his boss said, well, you just can't leave like that. He says, well, he goes, I already have a visa and everything to leave, or a visa to enter Spain. He says, well, you have to pay your debt to the revolution. And my grandfather or my father, I'm telling you. So my father said, well, how the hell do I do that? He said, well, you see that machete? Now you got to go cut sugarcane. So they sent the old man to a labor camp for 3 more years, and then he had to cut sugarcane to get out of the country.
So this is after the revolution.
Yeah, that was probably like 1966, I want to say.
Wow.
Because I remember my sister was born in 67, and he would tell me that he could only go see her once every 2 or 3 months. I mean, it was horrible. It was pretty bad, But ultimately, he was able to get out of the country and then go to Spain, and he was there for about 3 years, and then he came over here.
Right. And then,
thank God.
And then you're born, and you ended up finding your way back down to Miami.
Yes. Well, I think all Cubans at some point in their life, they end up going to Miami, whether it's early on or before. And then, somehow Miami's always in the equation,
Yeah. And you were doing like an online cigar business you were running down there.
That's right. I was, this is basically what happened. We had been out of the business for a long time. And I remember, I went up to see Yadi and her dad, and I said, look, I really, well, let me backtrack a minute because I think you're going to enjoy this part of the story. In 1993, my dad says to me, I'm only 14 years old at the time, right? My grandparents had been here to visit us in the States twice. Once in 1988, and then again in 1990. Once in 1983, and then again in 1989.
Mhm.
So in 1993, my dad says to me, he says, listen, one of my dreams is for you to be able to go to Cuba. And I said, wow. I said, I've never even thought about going. I mean, it'd be great. It'd be huge. So he says, let's go down there because your grandfather's already in ailing health. And I think it would be a great experience for you. I said, okay, Dad. So spring break, 1993, he gets the tickets. We get a visa, a humanitarian visa at the time. And we fly down to Cuba. And it was like a great week. I mean, I spent a week with my family down there in central Cuba. Got to see my the faces of my family when we arrived, it was just so joyous. Everybody was so happy. It was just an amazing week. But the kicker of the story is when we got there, a few days into the trip, or as we were kind of coming close to coming back here, I said to my grandfather, I said, you know what, Granddad? I said, I would love to bring back some cigars back to Florida. And I said, but not just any cigars. I said, why don't you and my uncle make them? He said, I could do that. That's no problem. Just like that, Jimmie.
So make them in Cuba.
In his house, in his living room.
In the living room, and bring back family-made cigars, non-Habano.
Best cigars I ever had. Best cigars I ever had. I don't know if it was because of the love that he put into it, probably. But it was amazing. He basically, he said, listen, this is how it went down. I'm 14 years old, but my Spanish is pretty good, obviously. So I went down 3 houses down to a neighbor of his, and I said, I can't remember his name, but let's say, Pedro, hey, I'm Ramon's grandson. I'm here visiting from the United States. Oh, hey, how are you? Listen, he said I could come here and get some tobacco from you. Oh, sure, yeah. He comes here all the time, anything he needs here. So he gives me all this filler tobacco and wrapper and everything. I bring him back to the house, and between him and my uncle, they must have made 30 or 40 cigars, man. Little ones, like a Lonsdale.
PAOs, and yeah.
They were great, though, I got to tell you. And that was at that point in my life when I realized, Jimmie, somehow, some way, my family had to come back into the tobacco and cigar business. I mean, I was that passionate about it back then.
So then from Miami, you do this thing, you start to do your online cigar business.
Right.
And your father decided to move to Florida, but he didn't want to be in the hustle and bustle of the world. So he ended up in a little town called Tarpon Springs.
That's right.
And you made a major decision in your life to move there. Or now
you're right. I changed my basically my whole life. Yeah, my kids' lives. I mean, they were very little at the time when we came here. My kids were about 4, 5 years old, and we just wanted somewhere nice and quiet for them, somewhere that we could kind of grow a little bit, and not because of anything. I love Miami. I love my culture down there. God knows I love the food. I love the Cuban food in Miami. Par none, man. But my wife and I decided, we're like, you know what? Miami's gotten very expensive. We need somewhere where we can grow. And ultimately, we really, we thought that we could have the business here and do the shop. And I just want to say that at that time, I was doing a lot of business with the Gonzalez family. And I was helping them out with their cigars as well. I went to a few trade shows with them, helped rep their brand. And I mean, they're just great people. And her father, Yadi's dad, I don't know if she's watching, but he always told me, he said, listen, kid, he goes, because he mentored me, him and my dad were basically my mentors in the business. And he said to me, he said, listen, if you ever decide to open up a shop anywhere, all you got to do is call me. I'm just a phone call away. And you know what, Jimmie, believe it or not, I did that. And I called him up, and the following day he was here, and he brought a lot of product, and he helped me get this going. And it's just, I got no way to repay them.
And this is so you have 2 shops, and we'll get into the second one in a minute. Sure. This is the first one you opened, the one in Tarpon Springs.
Right.
And for those of you that have seen the article I wrote about the shop, you go there and don't expect some fancy lounge, full liquor bars and dance floors and all the other craziness that goes on. This is a classic cigar shop that is just as decorated as my lounge is here in my garage, hanging all over the place, drives my wife crazy. You know, people
Oh my goodness.
that have, have to have everything in order, they go crazy in places like this because everything's everywhere. And there's a
Right.
story on every inch of your walls in your shop.
That is true.
On for hours, maybe days, telling stories about that photo, that picture.
You're right. It's always about the stories here. And I just wish I had more real estate to hang more stuff.
Well, you could start hanging it off the ceiling. You do like Island Jim does down in
that guy is cool. Island Jim is very cool.
Go to his place in Pittsburgh, Leaf, the original Leaf and Bean, and
wow,
it's like yours, except he's got stuff hanging off the ceiling and things hanging off the ceiling.
I got to go check that out. That's very cool.
Oh, if you like that kind of organized clutter with stories, where there's, you don't ever want to throw something away, right? Because there's a story.
There's a story.
Stop. Don't throw that away. There's a story. There's a little sponge diver guy up there on you.
Yeah, I got a little sponge diver guy, and he was actually the one that was used. I don't know if you noticed at the mural outside. Mm-hmm. When you didn't get a chance to meet Mark, my local painter here. I mean, what a character. He's actually University of Pittsburgh Art Institute of Pittsburgh graduate. And I told him, I said, Mark, I want to put a sponge diver out there because, I mean, got to have sponges, man, Tarpon Springs. So he said, well, how in the world am I going to paint him? I said, listen, here, take the guy out there and use him. And that's what he did. He took that little statue out there.
When you got connected with Yachty's dad and he helped you put some stuff on the shelf in your shop, you got things rolling. Did you also have Seraphim blends ready to go, or was that after?
We did. We were already making our own stuff locally. We started out with one roller, and then we hired another guy that came and worked for us. And it's funny because at the time before I moved up here, I would go to Flor de Gonzalez every week, and I would sit there with Arnaldo, with my namesake, because it's my same name, with Gonzalez, Yachty's dad, and he would tell me all about the leaves and the blends. And man, it was a beautiful thing. It was like basically an apprenticeship. I learned a lot about blending and stuff with him. And then a little bit that we did here, fooling around. My dad too, and he would devein and strip everything, and it was just amazing, really. I have pictures and stuff with 20 years ago, basically, which I just don't know where the heck the time's gone.
Is that like your first real immersive experience in cigar making?
Absolutely. At that time, yeah.
Previous ones, even when you were in Cuba, that wasn't registering.
No, I was just a little kid at that time. But I mean, I guess I always like to say I was a kid, I was a teenager, but it was kind of like my inkling into the business, We're not into the business, into the world of tobacco. But yeah, you're right. As far as cigar making is concerned, that was all basically here. And a few blends that we did, Miami.
The two rollers you have, what is their normal production? What do you produce in a normal week?
We don't really. I mean,
it can vary, but
we're not making a lot, like thousands of cigars, like everybody likes to say. I mean, if we make a couple hundred cigars a day, man, that's pretty much a long day for us. Maybe 100, 150 cigars per person, so 300 a day, and that's when we're fully cranking.
10 15 boxes of cigars at 20.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a nice little business to run through.
Sure. And then if we ever need more production, we can always we always do crank it up a little bit more when volume, like right now, as you know, I'm in a very seasonal area here. So we're not quite in season right now. We're still kind of in our down season, but it'll start picking up now once November hits.
Sure.
We get snowbirds and stuff. And then, we always crank it up a little bit more.
And those snowbirds come down. Now your shop down there has been operating for what, 4 years?
This shop here in Tarpon?
Yeah.
It's been here since 2007.
2007. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's 14 years already.
14 years you've been running that shop. And
originally we were 2 doors down where the bar is now. I don't know if.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then this spot became available, and then we moved over here to the corner, which was a little bit more visibility. Well,
so over those 14 years, I can tell you, when I go and look at your fans' Facebook page. Okay, fans of Serafin De Cuba Cigars, they're all over the country.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And
it's got to be a
I should have
connection.
done that page years ago, man.
Well, it sounds, it's kind of reminds me of like, even like Danny Rodriguez, right? You have a destination place. People come to Tarpon Springs, Florida, small little quaint little town north of Tampa. Like you said, the snowbirds, they're traveling around. They're just doing stuff, right? They may be
They're just hanging out. They're just hanging out, having a good day.
And they see the cigar shop. And for the first time, they come in and say hi. They find this stuff and they fall in love with just this simple lifestyle of sitting out on a plastic chair in front of a cigar shop, smoking a cigar, watching the people go by. And then they go home after their time down here. And you must get a number of either internet orders or phone orders from around the country.
I really do. Every day. I just want to say, if anybody, all my friends, my customers, if they're watching right now, which I hope they are, I want to thank them for their business, obviously, and for their support and their friendship. Because I like to say that this is an extension of my family. And my dad, when he helped me build this business, to him, it wasn't really about the money or anything. It was more about the people, man. And I got to say, really, it is about the people. And we've got a good, loyal following throughout the country. Just this morning, I had to run to the post office to ship out like 10 packages. And that's almost every day, Jimmy. Every day I got to ship out boxes. And I'm always getting, my wife sometimes, she gets irritated because, some people, they got a business number and all that. Well, my business number is my cell phone. So if they can't email me, they call me. And, I get phone calls all the time. And you know what? I always try to take my calls. If I can't get them, they get a voicemail, but I call them back. Right. And that's really been, I think, like my claim to, I don't know, fame, I guess, but my little thing is I pick up the phone, man. I talk to people.
And people like that.
And people like that. I think like in today's society, you got J&R and all the big retailers and Cigars International. And I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. I think it's great. But for a little mom and pop shop, which is what I am, I'm very honored that people give us the business. And we're very happy that they do that.
We're going to take a quick break here, and I'm going to just give a shout out to the sponsors for the show today.
Absolutely.
When we come back from that, I want to talk about some of the things I have here. You can start talking about some of the blends a little bit.
Sure.
Which ones you like, and then which ones I'll ask you some good questions like, did it come out the way you expected it to? And then also we'll talk a little bit about your other store.
Absolutely.
And how that came to be. So, sure. So today, today's show is sponsored by So today's show is sponsored by the Cigar Clowns. The Cigar Clowns invite you to come along on a journey to find the perfect cigar. If you're lucky enough to get your hands on one of their limited releases, you know what's up. And if you haven't had that chance, stay tuned to the Cigar Clowns page on Facebook. And when a new run drops, they will go very quickly. So if you want to have good conversation with good people who smoke amazing cigars, they invite you to welcome all brothers and sisters of the leaf to the Cigar Clowns page and check out what they find. Cigar Clowns look in aging rooms in Nicaragua and Dominican, and they find some unique things to put on the market. And it's one and only. Once they're gone, they're gone. But you could read the reviews we've done on it. They've all turned out to be pretty interesting cigars. Today's show is also brought to you by Platinum Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova Cigars is a family-owned and operated premium cigar company. They use only the highest vintage tobacco and the most skilled hand workmanship to make each Platinum Nova cigar. This results in a timeless blend of art and craftsmanship. The Nova brand and the family's work are a tribute and an honor to their grandfather to always remember him and his infinite passion for the finest cigars. Their love for cigars started with their grandfather, a dedicated master blender and entrepreneur in the cigar industry. So next time you're looking for an exquisite cigar experience, pick up a Platinum Nova. You can check them out at Platinum Nova Cigars at www.novacigar.com and on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And while you're there, as long as these ads are running, you can also use the code Boston Jimmie with an IE 15, and you'll get 15% off any order on Platinum Nova Cigars. We're also brought to you by Tarazona Cigars. Those of you that know Eddie Tarazona knows Eddie does it with passion. He's been passionate about everything in the cigars and the cigar lifestyle. We would like to thank you for visiting Tarazona Cigars, because at Tarazona, they're passionate about the cigars they make, their premium long leaf handmade cigars that are rolled to the highest quality by masterful rolls. They take pride in the quality and craftsmanship of every cigar that goes into every box of Tarazona and Carabello cigars. The ultimate goal for Tarazona is for you to enjoy a fine cigar with good friends, to enjoy a cigar for those momentous occasions, or just kick back and enjoy a perfect day. The next time you're looking for that perfect cigar to smoke on that momentous day, reach out for Tarazona. You can check them out at www.tarazonacigars.com and also on Facebook and Instagram. And lastly, today's show is also brought to you by El Chan Cigars. El Chan Cigars is a dream come true for husband and wife, Gabby, El Chan, and Liz. They want all hands that work the tobacco leaf in their home country of Puerto Rico to have the same opportunity to expose their products. They call the company La Jolla del Chan because they cultivate part of their product, and it's by the world with their native tobacco leaf from Puerto Rico. The pride that Gabby and Liz feel is the same pride of all those who work the tobacco leaf in the country of Puerto Rico, and this is why they deserve a portal that represents them. Thank you for supporting our country, they say. We will resist, and follow them at lajoyadelchan.com and on El Chan Cigars on Instagram, Facebook. I'd like to thank my sponsors, for without them, this show is always a little harder to do. And let's get back to Arnold. Pay the bills.
That's right.
It's always good to have good people tracking and following you. And
Oh, absolutely. You mentioned Puerto Rico. I don't know if you know this or not, but I remember years ago, I read this somewhere or somebody shared it with me. Puerto Rican tobacco was actually some of the best in the world at one time.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to bring back. It's been an issue with all the storms and the mudslides and all the stuff going on.
Sure.
They've been having real issues, but I know that Gabby is one of those that are trying to recultivate it and get it growing again.
That sounds like a great project. I think it was 1948. I believe you might want to look it up, but I think 1948 they had the best tobacco crop in the world in Puerto Rico.
That's amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, the soil is very similar to Cuba. The Caribbean, Dominican Republic. It's pretty close.
So, and it's just a matter of getting out there and having the fields and toil the fields and make sure things grow. You treat your farmland right, and farmland you treat whatever you grow right.
Absolutely.
Now, you got this shop, and this shop parlayed into another shop. So talk about where the other shop is.
Okay.
What the difference is between the two shops. Because I think there was some differences.
Well, my son is probably watching right now because I called him like at 2:00. I said, "You're going to watch the show tonight, right?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, Dad, of course." Anyway, so special shout out to him. He's the one that actually runs the Spring Hill shop. I got that shop going in 2009, and that's a little bit north of here where we're at. It's about 23 miles north of here in a little town called Spring Hill. And that shop up there, I have a good following up there as well. I have a lot of loyal local customers. And, without them, I don't think I'd be here today because, I got the same guys that walk in every day or every day, every other day, whenever they come in. Every month they're there. and I'm basically their go-to guy in Spring Hill. And when Dad passed away, which was in December of 2019, which I can't believe it's almost 2 years already. But anyway, I had to kind of, come in here full time, because at the time when he was around, I would split my time between both places. And then my wife would help me out up there. And Brandon was still in high school. Well, wouldn't you know, I mean, it's just funny the way things work out. When Dad passed away, I had to come in here full throttle, just jump into this. And Brandon said, don't worry, Dad. He was already kind of towards the end of high school. He says, I'm going to go ahead and go, or actually he graduated from high school. He said, I want to go and help you out at that shop. And between him and my wife, they pretty much run the shop today. And he's there most of the time.
It's bigger than this one in
no, that shop is very small. It's mostly retail, but I have, some aging. I have an aging room back there. I have a little warehouse. I have a little walk-in humidor. But it does the job. I mean, it works out pretty well. And, it's right next to it's like a little strip plaza up there. And it does good. I mean, it's been there since, like I said, since 2009.
Is it also scattered with hats and shirts and things?
No, I don't do any of that stuff there. Mostly it's just cigars and humidors and, accessories and stuff like that. I have all that other stuff, the hats, as you can see. I love my hats. But we have the hats here, the Hawaiian shirts. People dig it, man. I had the rack outside today, sold a couple of them, so it's just, I think, good for this place here, for the area that we're at here.
Oh, yeah, like you said, you get the tourists to come in.
Right.
Whether they be, coming in as snowbirds coming down and hanging out for 2, 3, 4 months, or they're just passing through on any day on vacation, want to take a break and check these places out. You offer them something that not every cigar shop is going to sell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we took a break from all that stuff, from the shirts and the hats, for a real long time. And then one day I said, you know what? I said, it's just part of the place. I mean, if we're here, why not? I always like to joke around and say, with the money I make from the shirts and the hats, I can make more cigars. So ultimately, that's really what we're here for. But let's face it, we got to pay the bills too, So the Hawaiian shirts.
Now, your line of cigars, so we went through some things when I was there with you. I want to start, we've already reviewed and talked about the
Florida Tampa.
Now, Florida Tampa, this is one of your ventures into using old Tampa brands. So I want to just briefly discuss your mission here is to create great cigars.
Thank you.
And try to rebirth some of the old brands from the Tampa area to pay tribute to the Tampa cigar industry.
Absolutely. My father was a huge history nut, and he kind of passed that down to me. I mean, we love history. And I remember people walking into the shop, and he was always talking about Vicente Martinez Ybor, the founder of Ybor City, and how instrumental Tampa was in the making of cigars. And obviously Cuba was involved with that because it was Cuban cigar rollers, Cuban tobacco that they bring here. And me and Dad always talked about reviving some of these old brands. And he always said, I would show him, the artwork. He said, man, that'd be so great. It's so nice if we could do that. So ever since he passed away, that's kind of been my mission, is to try to bring these brands back. And we did it a number of years ago with Tarpon Sponger, which I know it's a funny name. It's Tarpon Sponger is hilarious, and it's got the sponge diver on there and stuff. But it was actually a real brand back in like the 30s. So we did that a number of years ago, and then
keep talking.
Okay, so we brought that one back a number of years ago, and then for a little while we weren't really doing much with it. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna bring that one back, mostly with like the artisan rolled stuff, the triple wraps and all the different design stuff. So, and the newspaper one, which everybody sees it, they're like, man, this looks like such a locally made cigar. And I go, well, that's exactly what it is. So we did that, and then yep, there it is right there. That's my Tarpon Sponger Perfecto. And that one, I think you're gonna love it when you smoke it. It's more of a medium blend, and I just love that size. Like the Perfecto size is so elegant to me. It's got a great size. I mean, I love that cigar.
So oil, it's just a nice oily shiny wrapper on it on the outside. I
think you're gonna really like it a lot.
was that Candela and
Yep.
Albano?
A little piece of Candela and a little piece of Habano, yeah.
Okay. And a nice Maduro wrapper on it. So
I like to say that one is more of a medium blend, but it's really like the flavor is just really there on that one. I really like that cigar. But anyway, so we did the spongers, and that's been pretty popular, but I'd never really done anything fancy with it, just kind of kept it local. And then Flor de Tampa, which I'm smoking right now, is an old Tampa brand from like early 1900s. And I just happened to kind of stumble upon the artwork, and I just loved it, and I looked it up, and it hasn't been made in over 100 years. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to bring this one back. And I love it. I love the name. It's so synonymous with the region. I mean, and I'm just so happy with it. And folks are trying it, and everybody really says, wow, I love the flavor of the cigar. So I'm honored.
Was that when you use the same artwork, which is absolutely beautiful that you're able to do that? I actually have the box design there somewhere, in front of you, right? Because you just created the box.
Yeah, let me pull it up here so you guys can see it. We decided to do just a glass top on this one, plexiglass, but that way folks get to see the cigars and how they look. And then I've got this old label, which is like two knights standing there, and I love the way that it looks. It was actually, this design was actually at the University of South Florida. It was in their archive section, so I was able to find it and get the digital image and use that, and I just love it. I'm trying to track down more information, hopefully pictures of the factory. I've contacted a few people here in the area, so I'm in the process of doing that to get more information on the brand, because I found I think the last time somebody tried to do something with it was like in the 20s or something. It's an awful long time ago, so it's been tough. My friends over at Cigar Band Man, Ricky?
Yes.
Great folks, him and Vanessa. They do a lot of my artwork, and I sent them the image, and they were able to make this band, and I love how it turned out.
Now, so you don't know what the original blend was, do you?
I don't. I went with this cigar. My intention was to make it more of a Cuban-esque, I guess, Cuban style. Mm-hmm. So we went with an Ecuador Habano wrapper, and I used probably about 70% Nicaragua and a little bit of Dominican, and then another leaf that I'm not going to talk about too much because everybody has their little secrets, right? But we were definitely shooting for a real Cuban blend here. And I got to tell you, I mean, like, Cuban cigars are great. I mean, I know you've had them. Yeah. Most of your viewers have had them. They're great. And obviously, I'm never going to replicate something from Cuba itself because the tobacco's phenomenal.
No, you want to be you. You want people trying to replicate Seraphim.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you go. Hey.
What is it that they say? Imitation is the best form of flattery or something?
That's correct.
So
this is another one that you showed me. So
oh yeah, well that one's not even out yet, Jim.
I know this is unique in of itself.
Yeah.
And this one here.
Hopefully we'll have that one out probably in early January or February. I'm hoping. This
is a Connecticut, right?
That's a Connecticut wrapper. Yep.
Okay, so you got a Connecticut wrapper. This is so beautifully designed. It reminds me of a Hoyo de Monterrey.
It looks very similar to it. Yes, it does.
Okay, with the shield on it. Did a really nice job on the band.
Did that one as well.
It's got some nice, interesting fill look in there. So it's got a combination of dark and light leaves. So this has a little boldness to it.
You're gonna like it. I think you're gonna like it a lot. It's very similar to my father, to the cigar I made for my dad, the Don Ramon. Uh-huh. We did the Don Ramon series 1942 in his honor. And people have been coming in here and they just have great things to say about the cigar. And the only complaint is they say to me, hey, when are you going to make a smaller version of it? And I go, well, probably never, because that was Dad's favorite size, was the double Corona. I said, but I'll tell you what, I said, I'm going to bring out another line of cigars that I'm going to launch real soon. And it's going to have different sizes, but it will be the same blend as Dad's cigar. And that's kind of what we're doing, what we're going to be doing with that. And hopefully in the next 3 to 4 months, if everything goes well.
Then you knowing that I was a baseball fan, you couldn't let me leave the shop without this floored the Tampa.
The General, baby.
The General, right? So what is this? This is 9 by
9 by 47, which if you look at Cuban cigar sizes, you know how it's funny here in the States and in Nicaragua and Dominican and stuff, 7 by 48 is your Churchill. Some companies do a 7 by 50, which I've always thought is kind of big to be a Churchill. But anyway, the Cuban size Churchill is a 47 ring.
okay.
And the Monte Cristo A, like A as an apple, is a 9 by 47. And that's kind of the size of that one. It's an A size. But just to mess around, I decided to name it El Generale.
Yeah, there you
People
go.
think it's funny, man. I go, you smoked the Generale lately? So
And then there's a few of these which I grabbed out of off your shelves. These are these are excuse me. I'm on a show. These are your Serafin.
yeah,
The gold.
the Gold Series.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
is
had
this
those
your
labels
first?
years ago too.
Was this your first blend?
Yeah, that was my first blend. It's very mild. It's a very mild blend. But the attractive thing about that is the barber pole. That's the Salomon, I think, right?
Yep,
the
that
shape.
was a Salomon. Yep.
The Salomon is very nice. That's also
And then-
been, God, it's been a staple here at the shop for many years. And that's the Toro in the barber pole series as well.
I like the look of the wrappers on that, and it's
Thank you.
well rolled. Everything's nice and even on it. Okay, so very nice barber pole.
I think you'll like that one as well. I find it to be very mild, but very enjoyable. Great morning cigar, I think, or sometimes you don't want to fire up anything too bold, How's that
You
one?
told
What do
me
you think of that one?
this one is smoking smooth. This is, like you said, this is a mild to medium at best.
Mhm.
It's got nice creaminess right here.
The
So,
flavor picks up a little bit, though. I don't know if you noticed that.
yeah,
Like, when you
it
fire it up.
starts to develop. In the beginning, it was very, very mild. It was like, that,
Right.
but then it's moving up. You can tell.
You're hitting that sweet spot almost.
Yeah, I think I'm going to feel it right about here. It's
I
gonna
think so.
shift on me. I could just tell by how the flavors now were beginning to develop. I could start to pick up that creaminess was coming.
Sure.
If I think about it, like I said, I'll probably have more, but I'll let the cigar talk to me.
That cigar was like, before I released Dad's cigar, it was like my Connecticut bestseller at one time. And then, I decided to do the one for Dad, and I changed the blend a little bit. And that one is still a great seller. People love it. They really do.
This is a fabulous morning cigar, without a doubt.
Thank you.
You sit back, I could see this as if you wake up on a Saturday morning, you get your cup of coffee, you sit out on your deck or your patio, wherever you
Life is good. Absolutely.
and you got a couple hours, you're gonna enjoy this. Just listen to the birds.
Right. Exactly. I agree. And I love, my favorite size has always been Churchill's. Double Corona, like I said, the one I did for my dad is a little bit bigger, but if you got the time, do the crime, right? I mean, that's my take on it.
Now, when we talk about barber poles, I want to bring up another story you told me, which I thought was fascinating. So, barber pole, but let's just talk about the barber pole, which sits outside a barber shop, and cigar store Indian, which sat
Oh my God, man.
which sat outside a cigar or tobacco shop. And I'm gonna let you explain how those came to be and why they exist.
Yeah. Again, I love history, right? So it's definitely up my alley. Back in late 1800s, turn of the century, a lot of folks didn't know how to read or write. They just basically, they knew symbols, right? Because if you could go to school and read and write back then, I mean, you were pretty wealthy, well-to-do. So symbols, and I've got an article here on that posted right on my humidor glass. I don't know if you saw it. It says symbols.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, I got to send you a picture of it. It says symbols help sell cigars. Well, back in those days, like the frontier towns, they would put the cigar store Indian outside of the shop, and people that couldn't read or write said, "Hey, that's a cigar shop. That's a smoke shop," because of the Indian who was there. And that's the story behind the cigar store Indian. And I don't know if you remember, like up in the Northeast, Boston, Jersey, they got the Muffler Man. Remember the Muffler Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a muffler shop. The barber pole. Yeah, barber shop.
Barbershop.
I don't know if you remember the guy that used to the scissors guy, remember? That he would sharpen the scissors. He would have the scissors.
Yeah, the guy that came around with the truck.
Exactly. Exactly.
I miss that
So,
guy because I got some knives that I would love. My mother used to, when that guy would come down the street, my mother would run out with all her knives and he'd sharpen the knives right there.
Oh, sure. I remember that too, actually. That was the thing. Like I remember back then. I mean, now you go and you buy all these scissors and they're from China and they're not really any good. But back then, those scissors were German, man. They were German steel. Yeah. So you had a good pair of scissors, you had it forever.
Absolutely. And my wife will tell you that she lives by the best scissors in the world, because besides everything that she does, she also is a seamstress. So she designs, makes all kinds of clothes for the kids and stuff. And I mean, she can knock out like a kid's dress in 2 days.
Oh, she knows a lot about scissors, I bet.
Yeah. So she knows about scissors. And one day I took her scissors and I forget what, I was looking for the stupid scissors in the bathroom to just, trim this stuff a little bit. I got a scissors from her room. I was in the bathroom. She goes,
"Oh boy,
man," did she freak out? She goes, "You don't use those scissors for that. What are you, crazy?"
That's right. They're very particular. People that like use their scissors for seamstress like that and stuff, they're like, "Don't touch my scissers." I mean, those you can't use for anything else. Yeah.
No, I learned very fast. Okay, no scissors.
I got a good pair of barber scissors in my in the bathroom at home, and they're German, the Solingen ones, and just for that, like trim the beard and stuff. And they'll last forever. I mean, really, if you sharpen them up and stuff.
What would you say was your biggest challenge launching your shop? Maybe even your biggest fear of doing that?
Well, it's funny. That's a good question. I think anytime you go into any business, whether it's the cigar business or the food business or anything, it's just, is this going to work? I mean, really, is this going to work? And I got to say, I was always a little bit concerned with it, but I always had such a great feeling. And I don't know if I told you, but when Dad was here, he helped me get this business off the ground. And, neither one of us took a salary for like the first 5 years. So I was working another job. I was in banking for about 10 years. And at that time, Dad was already retired. So he was able to come in here. He lived off of his retirement. And we were just basically paying for the business, getting it going. And, after, like I said, 4 or 5 years, the business was good. It was stable. And he said, "You know what, son?" He goes, "I think now you can come and join me full time if you want." And to me, that was like a beautiful day in my life, because I was able to get out of the corporate world and come into this, which I really love. But I think anytime you're in a business, it's always about, can I support my family? Can I pay the bills? Can this happen? Can this really work? And
I think you hit it right when you said, 4 or 5 years, because people can start a business. It's like we tend to live in this instant world these days. Ever since they came out with instant coffee, it's like everything's instant, right? Instant, you want to find the latest news, you can turn on any news channel on TV and you get, they're constantly reeling. It's always instant news.
Sure.
If you try to download a video or you go try to stream something and it isn't going exactly right, you get all pissed off because like it should be perfect, but when you're on
instant gratification, right?
It takes time. You got to build.
I think you're frozen. You there?
The business, it's one of us.
You froze for a minute.
Yeah, we are. It happens.
We're good.
This is what I was saying. We freeze. So people come, you put the sign in the building and people will come, but how fast will they come?
Exactly.
How will they come back? Because if you got a great product, they're going to come back.
They're going to come back. It's going to take some time, like you said. And, my dad was always a good business person. I mean, unfortunately, he wasn't able to get back into cigars right away. So he ended up in other businesses. He had a clothing business for an awful long time. But that always gave him the know-how and the experience. And he already had that background, and he would always say to me, listen, you got to take it easy. Don't rush into things. he was always kind of like my buffer, you know.
Right.
And he would say to me, just be patient. Everything's going to work out. We're going to be fine. And I got to say, you know, all these years later, I really thank God I'm very fortunate, man. Everything goes well for us, you know. And I feel like he would always say to me, he would say, the business is going to give you whatever you put into it. And, you know, he's right. I mean, like almost 15 years here, all we've done is work, you know, 6-7 days a week here, nonstop. And it's paid off. I mean, thank God, you know, we do pretty good.
It doesn't seem to be work for you now. I saw you in that.
I enjoy it.
Store. You're just enjoying your patrons that come in.
Absolutely.
You know, you're meeting people in your
From
shop,
everywhere.
From everywhere. Because a lot of times you open a shop.
You might have frozen again. I don't know. I'm still here.
I open a shop here. There we go. So you open a place like in Florida, and it's just the people in Melbourne. You are in a place where it's a destination, so you get to see all these people, and it's so much fun because it's a lot of fun about people.
Even on a weekday here, like let's see. Yesterday was Friday, so Thursday we had a really crazy storm that came through here, so there was nobody here. Oh, yeah. But that was okay because I had a bunch of orders I had to get out, so I decided to make it more of an office day. I had to organize my little room back there because I had just gotten the boxes in. So I tidied that up. It looks a lot better than when you came. Very messy today. But, you know, you're right. You know, but let's see, Friday. So yesterday was a great day. Not a lot of people, but the right customers came in. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because, like, Thanksgiving's going to come up. And usually when Thanksgiving comes, like all the local merchants here, which are mostly Greek, all my Greek friends, they always get excited. Oh, yeah, Thanksgiving, everybody's going to be here. Because people come in from out of town, right? So the family members, they walk around. Jimmie, on those, like on Thanksgiving Day and the Friday and Saturday after that, it's mobbed here. I mean, like thousands of people are here. But that doesn't necessarily mean that business is that great because, you know, somebody might buy 1 cigar or 2 cigars, but it's just a lot of people. So during the week, there's less folks, but I'm able to spend more time with them and explain the cigars and show them to them. And, you know, I really enjoy that part of a lot. And I get to meet people from all over the world. Really. I got friends, my kids, if they're watching right now, they're always laughing because they say, Dad, you've got friends in Spain and Switzerland. All these, I do. Like I traveled to Europe 4 or 5 years ago and we went everywhere and I had friends everywhere. It's just unbelievable. So
and that's the beauty. And that's part of the beauty of business and even more the cigar business.
Absolutely.
You know, we meet people with a common passion.
Right.
We're a 2% club. Right?
Sure.
You know,
it's a camaraderie.
Exactly.
It's a camaraderie. It doesn't matter, you know, how you feel about certain things, but everybody kind of bonds together for the cigar and for the conversation, you know.
Let me take another quick break. I just want to go quick through what's new in news and reviews on Stogie Press. And then after that, I want to come back. We're going to do a little lightning round. Do some short question answers, get to know a little more about Arnold.
I'm having a lot of fun here, by the way.
Okay, we'll roll it on. Yeah, this is good. So this week in Stogie Press, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I dealt with the death of a friend and kind of threw me for a loop. So there were, you know, we had a couple of reviews. Obviously, we did the Serafin De Cuba floor. The Tampa Toro came in at a nice 90 rating. This is a beautiful medium strength cigar with a $10 price point with Ecuadorian Habano, Nicaraguan binder and filler. I like this cigar. It's the first time I experienced your craft, so it was very cool. And I was impressed that it's coming and being built here in America. Okay. The other size you have is the Toro and the Sublime and this El General that I have, which I'll smoke for fun of it. So really, it was a little harsh on the front end, and unfortunately, there's a point I deduct for that when it gets a little harsh, but it's just a point. But then it developed eventually into this nice natural tobacco sweetness with some pepper on the retrohale. You knew the cigar was going to be a little bolder than normal. Had some really nice, and when you talk about Cubanesque, you're absolutely right. There was this light Cubanesque floral aroma, especially as I got into that final third. I really began to feel that Cubanesque flavor, if you will. So very nice cigar, really good job. Looking forward to smoking the other ones. I also reviewed the Hiram & Solomon Cigars for Warriors. Live to Serve. This is a fabulous cigar. They really did a great job. This is a short run. I think they only did two. They have a limited number of boxes they did on this. Beautiful San Andreas wrapper. There's some veins in it, but I don't go by that. Sometimes veins carry flavor. It has a deep blend here. It's got a San Andreas wrapper with a Mexican binder, which is, I was a little nervous because I know that Mexican binder, that's probably gonna be a little thicker, so you better get some good combustion. They were able to make it happen with the Dominican Corojo in both Ligero and Seco, and the Criollo 98 Ligero, and they have Panamanian broadleaf in this, which is unique. So it had a tremendous flavor profile, black pepper, butter, chocolate, cinnamon. I really started to enjoy the fact that there was some honey in this and some maple syrup aromas. And it got this meaty note that was coming through. So it really kept the palate interested all the way through. So it was a good job. And all the profits of this go to Cigars for Warriors. They have since, this run is done. The next run I understand for Cigars for Warriors is from Caldwell Cigars. So just if you've been following that. And today, by the way, if you've been paying attention every day at 1 o'clock on my Wheel of Wonderfulness, where you normally give stuff to people who watch the show, I switched it around and I put a whole bunch of different packages on the wheel. And I'm going to be donating 30 of my cigars out of my humidor plus $75 Cigars for Warriors. Okay, so that was the result of my Wheel of Wonderfulness today. So that was good. News. There was a lot of news going by. I'm not going to get into all the details. We'll go into all the articles, but Espinosa Cigars has now gone back to an in-person Lozona Palooza invitation-only event. That's going to be happening early next year. Drew Estate has released their Liga Privada Unico UF4 for Casa de Monte Cristo. It's an exclusive for them. They've also released the Undercrown 10 factory floor the year of that they do at the Chinese New Year cigar. So that has now been released. And Fratello announced their Arlequin Perfecto, which is an extension of their Arlequin line. So you can check those out if you're fans of any of the brands. Check those out, support your local tobacconists. And then lastly, if you go to Lounge Reviews, you'll be able to see the Serafin De Cuba Lounge review we did. So went in there, took some pictures, checked you guys out. A nice picture there of Arnold.
I keep getting a lot of people making funny comments.
It's eclectic. There's all kinds of things sitting around, stories on every shelf that you were telling me. The rolling table, the press here that you were very proud of that you were able to get. And the humidor. Humidor is not just, for those who know, this is not just Serafin cigars. There is a whole area of Serafin cigars, but you carry numerous other brands, including aged Opus X's and other cigars. So if you like well-aged cigars, Arnold's got some well-aged cigars in there. So check that out. And then, of course, you talk about the rebringing in the old Tampa brands and what you've been working on, your aging room, and then all the great history here, the 3 generations before you, your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather. I love this picture. It's awesome. And
thank you.
so check it out if you're in the Tampa area. It's only about 30 miles up the road north. Just check them out. They're located in Tarpon Springs, and they're open every day except Monday from 11 to 6 p.m. Check that out. So that's the news and reviews on Stogie Press. And let's get back to Arnold.
Jimmie, thank you very much. I just want to say I really appreciate you having me on the show and all the time, and the great article that you did. I love it. You know, really nailed it.
You're doing a great job, and I really love it when I go and see the passion of people that take this, embrace this, and run with it. Because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You don't know if this whole industry comes crashing to a halt, and you take and you go forward. But the passion shows, and patrons that I talked to at your shop for that couple hours I was there outside, just watching people go by. Every one of them was, it's like a Cheers. You got your different characters, right?
You're right. We got character and characters.
You do. Absolutely.
I want to say that most of the guys that come here, I mean, it's just like an extension of the family. I mean, just today we had Fred, who's a martial arts expert. I mean, he left a few hours ago. He worked out with Steven Seagal years ago and Chuck Norris, and he had a martial arts academy in Tampa for many years. So, I mean, hundreds or thousands of kids. Even my son trained under him. So
we talked about that when he was there. He was
that's right. You got to meet Fred. That's right.
He's an amazing guy. He's
great.
He has
Fernando's always here. Then you met the captain, my buddy that helps me out on the weekends.
The doc,
he's always here. The doctor is here. God, he loves to come and just hang out and just interesting people, man.
And that's what makes this culture so much fun, because it's a group of people from all different lifestyles.
That's right.
All different races, all different religions. It doesn't really matter. If you throw the politics and religion out the window, and
then everybody's happy.
we're smoking cigars, we're talking stories, we're learning about each other's lives.
That's
and
right.
When you break bread that way, you bond better.
Oh, absolutely. And they're actually, let me just say this. Some of those guys are out there on the porch right now watching the show probably on Fernando's phone, I'll bet.
So little lightning round. Let's learn a little bit about Arnold before we close the show out. What is your favorite movie genre?
You know what? I really enjoy a lot of the old gangster movies. I don't know. I'm constantly quoting stuff out of like Casino and Goodfellas. And even if you go back further, like all the old Humphrey Bogart movies, like the old gangster flicks, Scarface, of course, come on. Every Cuban loves Scarface. You're frozen. Can you see me?
To catch up.
I got
there we go.
All right. You're back.
Yeah. It's the internet's going stupid stuff.
That's all right. I love all the old gangster movies. Like I said, Scarface. I mean, I probably know that movie. If my wife and kids are watching, I'm always making funny quotes and the accent and everything. Because you got people that they're like, oh well, it was a really bad Cuban accent. I go, I don't think it was. I think it was pretty good actually. I think Pacino nailed it in that movie. So
would that be your favorite gangster movie? What's your favorite gangster movie?
Well, I would probably have to say Casino is probably it. I love Casino. But I think, maybe Scarface is number one and Casino's number two.
Yeah.
Just last night, I fell asleep watching The Irishman, which I've seen probably like 30 times already in the last.
You could fall asleep watching that movie for sure.
Right. It's long. But you know what? If you take it for what it is, I really, really think it was good. And I love anything Scorsese does, He's just, and to get Pacino and De Niro together, I mean, and Harvey Keitel even, I mean, that was
Harvey. Yes. It reminds me of, what is it? The different colored guys, the orange guy, the pink guy. What movie was that?
Oh, that was Reservoir Dogs.
The Reservoir Dogs. Man.
Mr. Pink.
I love that movie. Yeah.
You remember the old
What do I got to be Mr. Pink?
Right. I'm not going to say it, but I know what comes after that. You remember the old guy, Lawrence Tierney? He was an old like B movie actor, and he was the guy that they had like as the head of the whole thing. And he says to Mr. Pink, I think he says, "Put in a tip, you cheap bastard." Remember when they're sitting at the diner? and then Steve Buscemi says, "What? Well, you know, why do I have to put in a tip? She wasn't anything special." I thought that was.
Yeah, that's that was one of my favorite gangster movie is Goodfellas, because
Love it.
I have a very weird connection to the movie.
Okay.
Personal.
I'd love to hear that story too.
Okay, we could talk about that on the side, but there's a strange personal connection to it.
That was a great movie.
Every time I watch it, it's always something I see different.
Sure.
You know how well that and all the people that were in that movie. When you think about it, you start to watch The Sopranos. It's like,
they were all there. And you know what? If you want to watch a really great gangster movie, which was done for HBO, was Gotti, the original one, with Armand Dapsant. That was one of the best movies I've ever seen for gangster movies. You know.
So you work your ass off. You're building this business. You're having fun doing this.
Absolutely.
Miami, obviously, you live in New Jersey. You've been to Cuba. Where would you want to take a solid 2-week vacation in the world to just unwind and enjoy your life?
That's funny. That's a good question. You know, right before all this craziness happened, my wife and I would love to go on cruises. And man, there's some really awesome cruises. They're like 10 days, like the Panama Canal cruise. Because, you know, it's funny. I don't know have you been on cruises before?
Yeah, I have. Not super long ones, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, you had the experience though, but I feel like in the beginning, when you first start cruising, you want to get to that destination and you want to get off the ship, right? And you just want to hit the ground running, right? But I don't know, maybe if you get a little older or whatever, but now it's more about like the experience, just to go and relax. And I'll tell you, they have some of those repositioning cruises that like you fly to like, let's say Barcelona, and then you can take the ship back to the United States and it stops like in 13 places. I think that would be an awesome cruise to take.
I want to take a cruise. My wife and I, you know, we're not into the big cruise ship.
Oh yeah, I know. Neither am I. Yeah.
But we would like to take a cruise, one of these Viking cruises.
Those are supposed to be really good too.
Go down the Danube and stuff. Yeah. And because I've been over to Germany and I've been up and down the Rhine. I've driven
that's
the Rhine. Taking, you know, you take a ferry across. You would go to a castle, which is an old broken down castle, and then you drive up the road and you take a ferry. You go to there's a town on the other side of the river, and you hang out there, and then you drive up and you take a ferry back. So that was a lot of fun.
I'll
take that cruise, along one of those rivers and really experience that moment in the history. So
sure.
Big cruises, I don't want to do those anymore. I just think it's...
And I think now with what's happened in the world and the current status of everything, I mean, we, like right before this happened, we were kind of trying to shy away from the big ships and just trying to find the smaller ones on purpose. And I think the cruise industry might have to kind of lean that way for a while because people are scared. They don't want to go on these big cruises right now, you know, 5,000 people. And I mean, let's face it, they were making these mega ships, which were just, they're just too big. 5,000 people is too much.
It's a city, man. It's like bigger than an aircraft carrier.
My understanding is now the deals are just phenomenal because they're trying to get people to come back. But I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in that industry in the next 10 years or so, you know?
What is your favorite American muscle car?
Well, I got 2 Mustangs at the house. Does that mean anything?
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Which ones?
I got an 89 5.0, which my daughter, the oldest one, if she's watching, Caitlin, that car's parked in a carport that I built right next to the house. So like if you open up her window, you see the red Mustang right there. And it's an 89 GT 5.0. And I restored it probably about 10 years ago. And it's just there, man. It's like, I keep saying it's getting better with age because I mean, I had one of those in high school when I was growing up. So I have that connection to those cars. And I just always wanted to get one again. And I did. So now I'm like, you know what? I didn't even know, but somebody told me the other day, they're like, oh yeah, that car is like on the 100 most desired cars list right now.
Oh, really?
Wow. I just
The
bought it 'cause I love
89.
it.
The
Well, it's
89.
like
that's-
that style, like the Fox body, the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
I just love it. I mean, I think like they were box, they were like square ones, remember?
Yeah, they were different. They
They were different, but they were really cool and they handled really well. And I love them. And then, excuse me, the other one that I have is a '01, which I made it. It's not a Cobra, but I got all the Cobra parts on it and I made it to look like a Cobra.
Oh, very nice. So,
So I love that one.
would you ever want to own like a 69 Shelby?
Oh, man. The one in Gone in 60 Seconds. Remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like a dream, man. I would love that car. Yeah, absolutely. Or there's a guy here in town that he's got a vintage toy shop. He had a car dealership here and he sold it and, he made a lot of money. So he's got a GT 350 parked outside, which is just unbelievable. I mean, it's just gorgeous. It's got the stripes and everything on there. It's just perfect. I toured the Shelby Cobra Museum in Vegas a few years ago. That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
I thought that was really neat.
That's excellent. It's excellent.
But
So
yeah, I'm a Ford guy.
you're a Ford
But you know what? I give a lot of those old Chevys from that time period a lot of love. And like, let's say the GTOs were great, like the Judge and all. I mean, there were some cool cars.
GTOs were amazing cars.
They were very cool cars.
My jam would be a 1963 split window Corvette.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
Or a 67.
Wow.
67 Stingray that is just off the
That
chart.
was a beautiful, beautiful style.
Yes.
Corvettes are
Actually owned, when I was right out of college, I had owned a 1966 Le Mans.
wow.
It was called a Sprint 6. So there was the GTO and there was the Le Mans, which were basically the same body style, right? Beefy engine, not so beefy engine. And then in the middle, they created this vehicle called the Sprint 6, which had an inline six, 230. It was like 230 horsepower, I think.
That's wild for a straight
But it
six.
had a 4-barrel carburetor on it. And the exhaust manifold came off and connected to a single pipe. But if you wanted to, it was set up because it came off one side and then the other side. So
Sure.
you just cut it and put dual exhaust out real easily.
Put an H pipe on there.
Yeah. And that car was a blast to drive. I cracked.
That's the thing. Those cars were so much fun back then,
Oh, they were just a blast.
I go to some of the car shows up here. There's a car show up in Spring Hill that they do every Thursday.
Mhm.
And they go to Hardee's up here. And I'll tell you, man, the stuff that those guys show up with is just unbelievable. Mostly retired guys. They got all the time in the world. And some of those things are just unbelievable. The old Corvettes and stuff I see there. I got a love for those classic cars.
All right. So here's the last question. It's my new question. I have this question I give everybody, and now we're on a new cycle. So I'm giving the new question to everybody. We recently, last month or so, 2 months ago, there was an asteroid that came flying past the Earth, and it was between the Earth and the Moon.
Okay.
But it was not detected until it passed the Earth, because as much as we can detect, we still don't have the ability to see stuff. This one came out from behind the sun.
Wow.
And it's traveling at like 60,000 miles an hour, right? It's just like flying, right? But we didn't see it till it passed the Earth. Well, here's the question. With these types of issues, if an asteroid was detected and we know that it's going to hit the Earth and it's so big that it's basically annihilate the human population, you're going to die. You're going to die in 24 hours. That's it.
You're done. Okay.
Dying, you, your family, your friends, we're all going to die from this. The human race is going to decimate. Would you do anything different than what you're doing now?
I don't think so, Jimmie. I think I'd be right here in Tarpon Springs doing the same thing.
Smoking a cigar, watching
Smoking a cigar, hanging out with the guys, drinking some coffee. I mean, life is good.
Flash. And when the flash happens, it's okay.
I'm done.
Had a good cigar.
There's nothing. What else is left? I mean, really.
That's it.
Hopefully that won't happen. I just want to say.
No, but it's always it's good to ask questions because it really, I think it tells people, who people are, what they really love.
and
Absolutely.
do under such circumstances. So we're testing this question as we go through. See how long it lasts.
It's a tough question, but I think I'm pretty happy right now, to be honest.
You are a jubilant individual. When the first
Thank
time somebody meets you, you are just this happy guy. All right. It kind of reminds me a little bit of myself, because I'm happy. I'm just, even on the sad days, I just find a way. I'm happy. Okay.
That's right.
I woke up. I'm happy.
There's a Spanish phrase that says, para mal tiempo, buena cara, which means for bad times, a good face, a happy face. And I have to agree. I mean, sometimes certain things are out of our control, and we just got to roll with it, right? We just got to make the best of it.
So my wife says, she goes, "Oh, you can't control the things you can't control. So don't get depressed about it. It is what it is. Only control what you can control. Your decisions."
That's right.
That you can control. So
I will say one thing though. You put something in my mind right now. If there's one thing I would love, I guess this could be another question you could think about too, is maybe a time machine, right? If we all had a time machine, what would we want to do? For me, it would be going back in time to spend more time with my loved ones.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, and trust me, as the older we get, and I'm experiencing this year, it sucks. I'm just surrounded by death.
Yeah.
And, because you think about all these people all the time, and you're right, you'd be able to go back and spend another moment with them. Maybe
Priceless.
spend enough time.
I had a friend of mine come here this afternoon, and we stood in front of the wall where I have all the pictures and stuff here by where the shirts are, like towards the back.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got this poem that my great uncle, he wrote this poem in Spanish like 24, 25 years ago. And it was dedicated to me. And to me, it's just priceless, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's such a talented guy. And this guy didn't even go past the second grade. You should see the way he would write and the words, how he would put them together. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So like for me, at the time, I mean, I love spending every minute with him because he was like a grandfather to me as well. And his brother too. They were my favorite uncles. And they were just great people. I would love to spend more time with them too, So
there you go. So you might have already done it, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to do it again in this soliloquy we just did. I'm going to give you the last word.
The last word is thank you for spending all this time with me today, for coming out here last week, and of course for writing the great story. And I appreciate the opportunity you gave me to be on your show and to talk about all this stuff. And I've enjoyed doing the show with you tonight. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you for joining. I want to thank those that have been watching. Don't forget, comment on the YouTube video that you're watching, and you could be in a Wheel of Wonderfulness next week on the Facebook channel on Boston Jimmie. I posted it out there, so hopefully people have found that. You can click on that, watch it now and forever, because it's forever archived on YouTube.
Do we have a lot of viewers right now, live or no?
I can't tell right now.
Okay, I was curious.
The problem is that with Facebook, I was able to see that, right, live, but I don't get to see as much of that on YouTube. And what's going to happen is it goes out, and then people see it, and they come in, view it, and the number goes like this. And then,
sure.
So, and then it's just a matter of repressing. If you missed it, check it out.
Right. Well, again, you see, that goes back to your question of on demand. People can just watch stuff whenever they want now. That's awesome.
How it is.
I mean, we don't have to worry about the VCR. Hey, hit the record button or whatever.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Those days are gone, man. But I'm sure that we'll have a lot of viewers, I think, on this show.
I hope so, and we'll check on it, and we'll talk about it when we, as the week goes on. I'll double check some things and see where we're at.
Awesome. I think it was a great show. I really appreciate it.
I truly appreciate being on. I really love what you're doing. Nice little destination, because it's just down the road from my my uncle, who's 90.
Did you get to see him? I was going to ask you that.
I did, and he's a little frailer than the last time I saw him a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, and but he's still kicking. He's still telling stories. He was a great man. He did amazing things. He was in the music industry, on the records of it. So he has a lot of stories to tell.
I'm sure.
And
the Rolling Stones were in town yesterday here in Tampa.
I know they were.
Oh man, I would have killed to get a ticket for that. That would have been cool.
I've seen them 4 times. So
Oh my God, that's cool.
yeah, I got to see him with Charlie Watts 4 times. Let's put it that way.
You know what I didn't know? I didn't know that Satisfaction was written because of an experience they had here at the Fort Harrison Hotel in Clearwater.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I found that out this week. They put it on the news and stuff. I thought that was cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. That's more information for me as a Rolling Stones fan. I'll add that to my memory.
More useless trivia, like my wife likes to point.
Gotta have it.
Jimmy,
All
thank
right,
you.
I'm going to call the show here.